What's going on YouTube? Uberlyftnick back with another video for you guys. So today's video is it worth it to drive a Tesla, in my case a Model 3, for Uber and Lyft, and what to expect, that kind of stuff. This is not going to be a long video because there's not really a whole lot to really get into, right? Let's start with this. Do I make more money in my Tesla Model 3 doing Uber and Lyft? Yes and no. What I mean by yes is I can do Lux on Lyft. However, Lyft is getting rid of Lux tomorrow. By the time this video is up, it'll be Lyft is done with Lux today. So then they're doing this thing called extra comforts. Now all these other cars qualify for extra comfort. My Honda Accord would have qualified for that, and before I got the Tesla, I was in the Honda Accord. Do I get more tips, things like that? No. As far as tips and stuff go, I'm making the same money on tips now as I did before I even got the Tesla. So we're gonna chalk that up to a no. A few things, right, is rather annoyances when you have a Tesla and you have people getting into your car. So the door handles, right? You have to push in with your thumb to get the handle to come out, and then they can grab. Not enough people drive Teslas, and where people don't know how to get in. Another thing is frameless windows. So these windows are, frameless. There's no like border or anything like that around the windows. So when a lot of people are either getting in or getting out for some reason, I don't know why the fuck they do this. It's one of the most annoying fucking things I've ever dealt with. And maybe they're used to grabbing the frame on a window. I mean, frames that go around a window that's not a frameless window. And they want to grab it to close the door when they leave or to open the door when they get in. I did find a workaround for that. When I do pick people up, I roll down the window now. So now they can't grab onto my fucking window to use it as a door, right? So that's a pro tip. If you're driving a Tesla, roll down your window. It'll, then you can tell them, hey, push in with the thumb, open that, right? And then also when they're getting out, roll down the window as well. I have had customers like, why do you do that? And I said, well, a lot of customers, they want to grab the glass to close the door. I was like, I don't know why, but then I got to bust out my cleaner and I got to do that kind of shit, that kind of thing. And I've done this a few times where I'm like, let's see if they watch me get out of my car to clean that window right after they got out, will they tip me knowing, oh shit, I just grabbed the guy's window, now he's got to clean it, right? The answer is no. We live in a weird situation now where people just don't tip anymore. I don't have an explanation for it. I'm not going to say everybody. I mean, I do get some tips, but it's not what it used to be, right? So now we have a lot of people that just basically don't tip. We're being used like public transportation, right? No one's tipping the bus driver, stuff like that, and that's kind of how we're being used. But that also makes sense, right? I think it was right before the pandemic or the scamdemic, whatever you want to call it. Uber then started letting cars that are, 8 and 10 years old do this. Right when they did that, you could see a big change in the clientele, right? And that's also when they lowered prices and also started paying drivers like shit. So again, I've had the car for a few months. I've got about 2,200 miles on it. I'm a part-time Uber and Lyft driver, guys. So if you're not familiar with my channel, you don't come on my channel. A lot of people are like, hey, you don't really drive that much. And they're right, I don't. I don't want to rack up shit ton of miles on my car. But that was the same thing with my Honda. That was, the same. I mean, I've had Honda Accord. I've had back in like 2018, I had a Volkswagen Tiguan. And I also had a Volkswagen Jetta right after, before I quit driving for a few years, because frankly, the money's just not worth it, man. I mean, you have to do surge only driving for this to be worth it. Now, have my costs gone down? Yes and no. I'll tell you why I say yes and no. So yes, because let me show you what I spent in the last 31 days to charge my car at home. And keep in mind, I don't just use it for Uber and Lyft. I use it to go to the gym, the grocery store, pick up my son, run them around town, you name it. I drive the car, right? So rather than me just telling you what I spent, that's what I spent, right? So $53 to charge my car for the last 31 days. And if you pause it on that frame, you'll see I don't even charge my car every day. So that's pretty unique. Now, the reason I say yes and no is because of this, right? I had to buy now I don't have to buy this Tesla charger, but I did, right? For me, it's easier. I don't want to have to pull it out of my trunk, plug it into a 240 in the wall, do all that kind of stuff. I want to pull up to my driveway, plug the fucking thing in, and go, right? Go to bed or whatever, anyways, that kind of thing, right? So I spent $500 on the Tesla charger. And then on top of that, in my specific case, I had to spend I think it was $1,400 to get an electrician to run wire. So that makes me negative, let's just call it $2,000, right? As far as if you were to compare that to fuel costs, I think it's fair that those are looped in, right? And that they're not separate categories in terms of the car. So that's that, right? I'm paying a lot less, even in my Accord Hybrid, which got phenomenal gas mileage. By the way, I have nothing but good things to say about the Honda Accord, especially the hybrid, man. Other than we all wish it had the 2.0 T motor, right? But I was getting, 40, a little bit over 40 on average in that car. But I was spending about $140 a month in gas on that, for the same miles, too. So I get good mileage in this, and I don't have to spend a lot of money as far as operating costs go. Another thing, the technology in here is great. People love it. They're all oohed and awed with it. If it's their first time in a Tesla, they're super excited, super pumped. Also, if you're in a Tesla and you're doing Uber and Lyft, do yourself a favor. I have the upgrade, the acceleration boost. Mine is a 23, long range all-wheel drive with acceleration boost, right? And so in my case, it says chill or it says sport. Now, if you just have the long range, just keep it in chill. I get way more miles and better efficiency like that. You think of it as like an eco button in another car, right? Also, I hear it makes your tires last longer, that kind of thing. I haven't gotten tires yet, so I'm not there. I can't comment on that. And the interior has held up really well, by the way. So Tesla does use really good quality for as far as the seats, the trim, things like that go, buttons, switches. It's not the Tesla that it used to be, where it was, I'll be honest with you, like years ago, I think back in 2020, I drove these and I was like, this is not anywhere close to being worth the money that they were asking. But also keep in mind, back then they were asking $65,000 plus for one of these cars. There's no way that was worth it. I bought mine for 42 and some change, right? That's before taxes and titling and all that. So we'll bump it up to like 46 after all of that. And that's before the $7,500 tax credit. Now, I make enough money in my regular career that I'm going to be able to take advantage of that. So I paid a lot more than that in taxes. So I'm going to get that full $7,500 back come tax time, right? So that's a game changer for me. That really knocks the car. If you don't include taxes, titles, whatever it is, not the dock fee, but when they delivering the car shit, right? Every car has it. It's like $1,100. Destination, that's what I was looking for. If you remove all that shit, that really makes me paying about $34 for this car, $34 and some change for this car. When you factor that in, that's a great deal. Even if you include the $2,000 for the home charger, stuff like that, you're talking, really $36K all in for something like this, and that's a lot of car for the money. Storage is great. No complaints, man. In the summertime, and I'm in Arizona, it gets hot as shit, so I have covers that cover the roof, right? They're like blackout covers. I pop them right in. Takes just a minute to do, and that makes a world of difference, especially if you're 100+ degrees with that sun beating down on you. Recommend it. Highly recommend it. So going back to the question, is it worth it to drive a Tesla for Uber and Lyft? I think, well, here's the other thing too. I think if you're doing this full time, this is your job, and you're driving a few hundred miles a day, if you're doing, let's put it like this, let's say you're doing no more than 200 miles a day. This includes highway and everything, whatever climate you're in. If you're doing under 200 miles a day, I think the answer is yes. If you're doing more than that, I think the answer is no, and I'll tell you why. Supercharging isn't cheap. So supercharging used to be a very cheap way, and then people would just buy a Tesla, even if they didn't have a charging at their house. They could still go to a supercharger and save a lot of money and do that. Well, that's not the case anymore, right? It's more expensive. I would say supercharging costs as much as gas if you drove something like the Accord Hybrid. That's a fair comparison, right? Maybe even a little bit more, to be honest with you. I'm paying less than, gosh, 1/3 of what gas is right now to charge my car. That's why it's so cheap. As far as paint, how everything's held up, it's held up really nice, man. I have no complaints about this car. I did notice I have a few rattles that started to happen, like up here in the pillars, up down in the back, that kind of thing. And I have an appointment tomorrow. Well, it'll be today when you guys see this video, at Tesla, and they're gonna, I guess, insulate, do a bunch of other stuff, get rid of these, like, looks like a ticking noise, and I think it's right here on the B pillar is what I think. So they're gonna address that. The over-the-air software updates, I know people rave about it. It is what it is, right? When I first got the car, it said you could daily charge it to 90%. And then less than a month of owning it, they push a software update that says, hey, we only recommend it to 80%. Now, why is that important? You have to do what the manufacturer recommends for you to stay in warranty, right? Now, the warranty on these are, it's 120,000 miles or 8 years, which I would argue is far superior without having to buy an extended one over everybody else. Here's another thing too. I could spend $2,000 and get the full bumper to bumper for the 8 years, 120 directly from Tesla for $2,000. Good luck finding me any other fucking warranty out there that can cover you like that. It doesn't exist. So is it worth it? Again, yeah, if you're under 200 miles a day and you can charge at home, 100% yes, especially with the tax credits. If there's no tax credits available, I would argue, if you're doing it full time, I would just go with the hybrid and run gas. Personally, that's what I would do, especially now that they're taking away Lux. You might as well get a Prius or Camry hybrid and run it, now that they're getting rid of Lux, and we're stuck with Uber X and Uber Comfort. Green Electric and this other shit. Oh, we pay you $1 more per ride. I don't notice any more money, by the way. I simply don't. Anyways, if you guys have any questions, anything you want me to do a specific video about, I have an accessories video that I've been meaning to do. I've just been so fucking busy. I just haven't had the time. But I do want to do an accessories video, about what I have for the car and like things that you'll need, especially doing Uber and Lyft so your car doesn't get all fucked up. But anyways, throw me a like, a comment, subscribe, share, all that kind of stuff. I pump out new content at least 2 times a week. So you want to make sure you're subscribed. And again, easiest way to show me some love is just hit the subscription button at the bottom of the screen and throw me a like or a comment. Really means a lot to me. And I'll have a lot more coming out soon.